Something is happening in Arizona overnight. Trump has been closing the gap, and many people are saying you should not have called Arizona for Joe Biden because it might actually flip to Trump. At least according to the Trump campaign, they're saying when all is said and done, Trump will have won by between 10 and 30,000 votes. You see, there was a reporting error. Check this out. Reporting error where apparently they claimed 95% of precincts were reporting, and it was only 86, meaning a whole bunch more votes still have to come in from areas that favor Donald Trump. Trump campaign, needless to say, is very excited about this, but it's not really going to matter if Trump does win Arizona. He still needs Pennsylvania. Things are not looking good in Michigan. We got a whole bunch of craziness going, my friends. The House, Nancy Pelosi, they're freaking out. Democrats realizing they may lose 12 House seats. Not enough for a Republican majority, but the opposite of a blue wave. The culture war is far from over. The Democrats and the left still have tremendous strength, and they may actually win the presidency. We will see how things play out in Pennsylvania. But the Republicans are certainly pushing back, and the right is making its gains. The fact that, look, you can come at me all day and night and say, but Tim, the popular vote for Joe Biden. The House. These are districts. They don't have the same reporting issues as an electoral vote. We are seeing the Democrats lose standing, many of their frontline members being kicked to the curb. Now, in the Senate so far, I believe we've seen one flip. Democrat have they flipped Colorado. Hickenlooper ended up winning, putting one more Democrat seat. It may be. We don't know what's going to happen with these lawsuits. Either Trump could stop the count because the argument is the Constitution gives us one election day, and we'll get into all this, or the Democrats get the right to count ballots that came in after Election Day. The Senate may go Democrat. The House stays Democrat, and Biden might win. We still are looking at a who knows what's going to happen situation. There's a possibility that there are two possibilities. I'm not going to give you the numbers, but before we read into everything, Trump could win. He absolutely could win. If he gets Pennsylvania, if Arizona flips, Trump wins. Okay. He may need the courts on his side. So there's a legitimate path to victory still. The courts could definitely help him win. And we might see a Republican presidency, Republican GOP, and a slightly more Republican House. The other possibility, and there are many, many possibilities, but these seem to be the biggest, is that we see Democrats take everything. But we don't know for sure just yet. And I got to go through a bunch of stuff. There's accusations of fraud. There's some really weird. There are some safe Democrat seats apparently flipped Republican. No joke. We got a lot to go through. But the most important thing so far, Trump camp eyes Arizona and Pennsylvania, signals legal challenges ahead. I'm going to come back to this official article, which is going to bring up the legal challenges. And first, show you what's actually going on. From Chris Buskirk on Twitter. He's the editor and publisher of AM Greatness. AZ early AM update. Maricopa County overnight was a pickup of 50,000 votes for Trump. Biden lead is now 90K with 520,000 ballots still out there. A 60-40 Trump split of those ballots would put Trump ahead by 10,000 votes. Trump has been winning the count 60-40 or better since late last night. Jason Miller from the Trump campaign. Thorough breakdown. We believe Donald Trump's win margin in Arizona will be closer to 30,000 votes, probably just under that. Keep in mind, we're now counting Election Day voters. This is very, very important what Jason Miller is saying here. They're not counting voters that came in after Election Day. They're still counting Election Day voters. Donald Trump is likely going to be filing legal claims to stop any ballot that comes in after Election Day. We'll get into that in a second. We're going to go through more data. But check this out. Jeff Dufour, I believe, editor-in-chief of the National Journal, says, the latest plot twist comes from Arizona, which had reportedly counted 95% plus of its votes. The New York Times notes that due to an error in an Edison Research data feed of the results, the actual estimate is that 86% of the vote has been counted. This gives some credence to the Trump camp's argument in a call with reporters that it expects to pull ahead in Arizona because most of the outstanding vote is in Trump-friendly territory. Ladies and gentlemen, we are likely going to see, well, I shouldn't say likely. Trump could flip Arizona. I'll tell you this. Let's hop on over to that Predict It market. Earlier in the day, Predict It, the betting odds site, if you saw my earlier segment, had Arizona at 99 cents for Joe Biden. That means for 1 cent, you could get a share. And if Trump wins, you would get $1 back. That's crazy. Well, of course, it's dropped now to 87 for Joe Biden, meaning you'll need about 13 cents to buy a Trump share. So about a full order of magnitude down, because people are starting to realize. Now let's refresh and see where we're at with Arizona. 82. It has since gone down even more. And the projections for Trump to win have gone up by, I believe, 8 cents so far. Now, Predicted betting market still says Trump is going to lose. It doesn't mean he's going to lose. It means people right now, based on the data they have, are feeling this way. We will see. We will see. I want to point out, as we're talking about this voting error, or this tabulation error, which greatly benefits Donald Trump, it was incorrect. Trump might actually win. A lot of Republicans are cheering for this. They're saying, oh man, Arizona's going to flip Trump's good news, right? It was a reporting error. It was wrong. Donald Trump tweets, what is this all about? A tweet from Matt Walsh. This is reason enough to go to court. No honest person can look at this and say it's normal and unconcerning. And Matt Walsh, here's the best part. This tweet, let me refresh it to show you what's going on. This tweet from Matt Walsh is censored by Twitter, and the tweet he was quoting is censored by Twitter. Twitter is suppressing legitimate information that voters need to see. This is scary stuff. This is really scary stuff. If this goes to the courts and Trump loses, all of this is going to be highlighted. But let me show you what he was highlighting. This is a tweet from Matt McCowiak. An update gives Biden 100% of new votes, 128 plus. Let me show you this image. There's two maps here. We have Michigan, Donald Trump with 2.2902 million, and Joe Biden with 1,992,356. They then roll in their update, and that puts Biden at 2,130,695. But Donald Trump gained not a single vote. Now, immediately people are saying this is fishy, notably Matt Walsh. This is reason enough to go to court. No honest person can look at this and say it's normal and unconcerning. I believe they should go to court. I do. I believe Republicans have to make sure they're fighting tooth and nail. And I think Democrats have to as well, because we want legitimate and honest results. And I believe it needs to be based on votes cast on Election Day. But we'll get into all this. This, however, may just be a reporting error. We just saw that they may be uncalling Arizona. OK, because the Trump campaign says they're going to win by about 30,000 votes once all is said and done. These are Election Day votes, not votes after Election Day. Trump may win Arizona. Due to a reporting error, the New York Times is saying we actually missed, a decent amount of the vote. There's an Edison reporting data mistake. This could be the same thing. I'm not saying ignore it. I'm just saying everybody needs to chill a little bit. The end result could be the New York Times made a mistake in their tabulations. That's it. I tell you, man, people are on edge, and I can't blame them. But my friends, this is just a good day for Republicans for now. Today is a good day for Republicans, okay? It may turn into a bad week or month if Trump loses and the Republicans lose the Senate. But as of right now, House Democrats fall way short in disappointing night. Wow. My friends, last night, we did a 4.5-hour live stream, mostly just all the different guests from the party hanging out. So we had a lot of interesting people, like Lauren Chen was here, Ariel Scarcella, Jack Murphy, Seamus Coughlin from Freedom Tunes. So we had a lot of crazy people talking about crazy stuff. I remember I came down because we had a decent amount of people, and I go on my Facebook, and I'm seeing all of these lefties who follow me and who are friends with me on Facebook saying, I'm starting to get nervous. It was just like 2016. The polls were hysterically wrong, worse than they were in 2016. This is shocking. Trump hasn't won yet. It is very close. And I think we're going to see a litigated presidency. It's the Supreme Court's going to rule. I believe Donald Trump may end up winning for one reason. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Constitution provides for Election Day, the first Tuesday after the first Monday. That's when the election day is supposed to be. That means the Republicans are saying no more ballots can come in. And that's for good reason. We want rules. We want everyone to play by the rules. And the Constitution made this clear. The Democrats are saying a vote is a vote is a vote, and it must be counted no matter what. No. I understand there is an issue. We do want every vote counted. I personally think we should have every eligible registered voter who voted have their vote count. The problem is, and the reason we cut off after Election Day, is that you've got people sitting there looking at the districts saying, here's how much we need to win here and here. And it is just a terrible security risk. The Democrats have been screaming over and over again, there's no fraud. I don't care. We do not change the rules to accommodate people when they're losing. Sorry. I don't like the idea of a president getting elected when the will of the people in our system and our rules of the Electoral College favor someone else. But I'm sorry. If the rules are this way, then we play by the rules. That's all I can say. If you start changing the rules at the 11th hour, like the Democrats have done, then there's no system at all anymore. My friends, I do think we're only a few elections away from one party rule, and that's going to be a disaster. Because I don't know if y'all have been to California, but in California, there's almost no reason to actually do their job anymore. California's places like Los Angeles, Democrat supermajority. That's it. So what happens with homelessness? They don't care. They ignore it. I worry about that for the rest of this country. But let's read about the House. House, disappointing night. Speaker Pelosi and her invigorated caucus charged into Tuesday with an energized base, a sharp fundraising advantage, and hopes to flip anywhere from 5 to 15 Republican seats on election night. Instead, it was the Republicans who scored big, at least in the early counting, knocking out at least a half dozen vulnerable Democrats, with several more clinging to the ropes. It was a reversal of fortunes for the Democrats, who had led big in the polls and the money race and were betting that Trump at the top of the ticket would be a drag on GOP lawmakers all the way down the ballot. With gushing optimism, Democrats were expecting Tuesday night would give them a chance to pad their 232-197 majority next year. We are well positioned to have a good night, said Rep. Cherry Bustos, Illinois, head of the Democrats' campaign arm, told reporters hour before polls closed Tuesday. As the sun came up Wednesday morning, however, there appeared few bright spots for Bustos' party. And I want to stress, Sean Parnell, he's the guy with the viral ads. He's running against Connor Lamb, one of these moderate Democrats. Looks like he's up 14 points, at least last check. So we'll check again. Looking good for Sean Parnell. He's going to flip this seat for the Republicans. They say, while Democrats will retain their majority, a handful of their frontline members, incumbents facing the toughest races, had been defeated. And after boasting about how they'd expanded the map and were playing deep in a Trump country, they failed to pick off even a single House Republican running for re-election. Democrats did manage to pick up a pair of GOP-held open seats in North Carolina, where redistricting had made the districts much bluer, and a third in Georgia after the retirement of vulnerable GOP Rob Woodall. The spate of Democratic losses were not limited to any one geographic region. In rural Minnesota, Rep. Colin Peterson, a 15-term veteran and chairman of the Agricultural Committee, was clobbered by the state's former lieutenant governor, who linked Peterson to the liberal Pelosi. In the suburbs of Oklahoma City, Rep. Kendra Horn, a first-term moderate, was defeated by Republican Stephanie Bice, a state senator in one of the country's most contested races. On New Mexico's southern border, Rep. Xochitl Torres Small, I'm pronouncing your name, sorry, I apologize. A 36-year-old centrist, also in her first term, fell to Yvette Harrell, a former state legislator, in a rematch of 2018. And in South Carolina, first-term Rep. Joe Cunningham, Democrat, was ousted by State Rep. Nancy Mace, Republican. An early surprise on election night and early bad news for Democrats was the defeat of two first-term Democrats in Florida's Miami-Dade County, Reps. Debbie Murkacel Powell and Donna Shalala, the former Health and Human Services Secretary under Clinton. Cuban Americans, a powerful voting bloc in South Florida, broke overwhelmingly for President Trump, helping to hand Republicans the Sunshine State and the pair of House seats. Wow! I couldn't believe it when I saw those polls yesterday. Miami-Dade, blue, Democrat, electing Republicans and swinging for Trump very largely, not completely. Quote, part of it is incorrect assumptions about how minority voters will perform based on previous elections. Democrats can no longer take Black and Latino voters for granted. Yes, said former Rep. Carlos Curbelo, Republican of Florida, a Cuban American who previously represented one of the Miami seats. Symbolic of the tough night suffered by the Democrats, even Bustos on Wednesday morning was trailing her GOP opponent, although plenty of absentee ballots remain to be counted, and Democrats have cautioned the public not to jump to conclusions about race results before every vote has been tallied. Bustos hails from a largely rural district won by Trump in 2016, and the race was predicted to be close heading in. While votes were still being counted Wednesday morning in races around the country, an additional number of Democratic incumbents were trailing or locked in tight races, including Abby Finkenauer of Iowa, TJ Cox of California, Anthony Brindisi of New York, and Max Rose, a former Army Ranger. Max Rose might actually lose. I tell you what, man, you want to hear it from me? You supported impeachment and you spat in the face of those who chose to elect you. Not every district. There were, I believe, 31 districts that were for Trump in 2016, flipped Democrat in 2018. Many of the people who live here felt lied to. Absolutely. House Republicans, long criticized for the small number of women in their ranks, picked up seats by running female candidates against Democratic incumbents. At least 5 GOP women will be part of the freshman class. Republicans had added just 1 woman in 2018. The devastating night for Democrats is sure to prompt plenty of head scratching about their campaign strategy, including questions about the accuracy of their polling and decisions to go on the offensive in districts where Trump won handily, rather than dedicating resources to more moderate districts. It also presents a new dilemma for Pelosi, who's expected to return as Speaker next year and was hoping to cushion her comfortable majority in preparation for what is expected to be a tough cycle for Democrats in 2022. One of the funniest things I think that needs to be said, Lindsey Graham, they were actually claiming Graham was shaking in his boots. I got to be honest, and I say this all the time, not a big fan of Lindsey Graham. I think he's kind of, he goes with the wind, you know. Oh no, the Republicans are saying this, I better parrot them. Not a big fan, but he won by, what is he at? Over 11 points right now in the count. He won. They sank over $100 million, some ridiculous amount of money to try and get this Democrat to win. And Lindsey Graham wins by 250,000 votes. So more than 250,000. Absolutely ridiculous. We still have some Senate seats that are up, and we have 4 seats that are leaning Republican, as I mentioned in my earlier segment. In the House, one thing I find like probably the most fascinating thing, if we can jump down to, is it not going to give me New York? Okay, here we go. In New York, Max Rose might actually end. Okay, it's not too easy enough to pull these things up, but let me show you some of these numbers here. Something I find truly fascinating. Take a look at what they called toss up. I mentioned this in my early morning segment. They were wrong. The lean Republicans, overwhelmingly Republican. Look at this. Michigan 6 was lean Republican, and it's 20 points up. I think that's fair to say a safe Republican district, but fine. 20 points. In Arizona's 5th, they're only up about 12.8 points. Okay? So no, your polls, you're wrong. Toss up went overwhelmingly Republican. There is no blue wave. Sorry. The blue wave getting crushed out. Now, we'll see what happens with these senators. There's going to be a big legal battle. But look at the lean Democrat column. This is the real toss-up column. It is. It's split between Democrats and Republicans, and it's leaning Republican. The polls are broken. Fire every pollster. In fact, I would like to hire Frank Luntz for a job. Now, Frank Luntz, as you know, is a famous pollster. He tweeted that if the polls are wrong this time, he's like, all of us are going to have to find a new line of work. Frank, I do like you, so I think I have a good job for you. I would like you to go and fire all the other pollsters. It's no point in listening to them anymore. I'm talking to some of my progressive friends who are like freaking out about Biden, saying they gave us Biden and they sacrificed everything and they're potentially going to lose. And we disagree. And I was like, can we all agree, like, fire the pollsters? Yes. She said, we may as well have been guessing. Yes. Actually, I'll tell you what. They underestimated Republicans to such an insane degree. Look at this on your screen right now. Safe, likely Dem is safe, likely Dem. Lean Democrat is a toss-up. Toss-up leans Republican. And lean Republican and safe Republican are safe Republican. How absolutely ridiculous. Look at this. There are even some safe areas, like California's 39th is up 0.4 for the Republican right now. We also have in Florida's 27th, confirmed victory for a Republican in a safe Democrat district. That, to me, is the craziest thing out of all of this. Florida's 27th, Miami, they said it was safe Democrat, and Trump flipped. Wow. We are not seeing what the UK saw back in December, where there were some areas that never voted this way in like 90 years, flipping and voting conservative. But we are seeing some of it. So right now, the fact that we're seeing Florida's 27th, amazing. This was considered to be safe. And look at this. Illinois' 14th, considered safe, 0.2 up for Republican. We have Michigan's 11th, up a few points for Republicans. New York's 3rd is up about 1.5 points for Republicans. And we have PA 6, 7, 8, and 17, all favored by Republicans. This is crazy. This is the safe column for Democrats. Now, over on the Republican side, we have one that went Democrat, and it's Georgia's 5th. I don't understand why they thought Georgia's 5th district would be safe Republican, because it's John Lewis's old district. It went heavy for Democrat. As we read, it could have been due to gerrymandering, redistricting, I should say. Listen, the Democrats lost bigly. Is it Big League or is it Bigly? I have a painting on my wall. It says Bigly. Big League. They lost. And I want you to see this. And I want to let you know, the polls are garbage. As you can see, the Republicans had an overwhelming victory with the odds against them. In the House, they will not take the majority, but it looks like they've crushed the hopes of a blue wave. As for Donald Trump, he may take Arizona. I actually don't have any reason to believe they will be wrong about this. There was a calculating error in Trump's favor, meaning there's more votes to be counted. Will Trump win the presidency? He needs Pennsylvania. Prepare for a Supreme Court ruling that will make Bush v. Gore look like, okay, fine, whatever, a regular old election year. I don't have a good analogy for this. I think we may be looking at SCOTUS ruling in Trump's favor. You've got originalists on the court. It's going to be 5-4 in Trump's favor. It's going to be razor thin margins. There are going to be votes from actual people that wanted to vote that didn't make it in time or disqualified. And I'm sorry, I will never advocate for rule changes to benefit someone in a political victory. While I personally will lament the fact that there may be disenfranchised voters, people who wanted to vote, but their vote didn't make it on time through no fault of their own, I can only blame Democrats for instituting new rules in the 11th hour, not Republicans for upholding them. I am going to be tracking this for the rest of the day. I have no idea what comes next, but at youtube.com/Timcast at 4 p.m., I will have another segment up. So stick around and I will see you all then.